What's up YouTube, it's Katherine here. So I know you were probably expecting to see Justin, but he's actually golfing this weekend, which means that I've been left unsupervised, which means that I'm gonna make some trouble. What sort of trouble, might you ask? Well, here's the thing. So we recently bought a new bed, and this mattress and platform combination are quite a bit higher than our previous setup was. And so in our previous bed, we'd figured out a stool situation so that our 11-year-old cat, Nytiri, could hop up and curl up with us at night. And that setup is now too short. So she's been having some trouble. So today's project is going to be building some steps so that Nytiri can get into bed with us at night. Some of you are probably wondering right now, why don't you just go online and buy some pet steps that are already made? You can get them in a million places. Well, I already have plywood and a jigsaw, and this gives me an excuse to buy a staple gun. So yeah, we're gonna do this. So let's get started. I've always wanted to do that hand thing. First, you'll want to measure your bed. Our bed is roughly 26 inches tall and 72 inches wide. Next, you may want to measure your cat for reference. This step isn't strictly necessary, but you never know, it may be helpful later. After taking these measurements, I drew a plan for the pieces I would need to cut. This will serve as a checklist for me later, and it also makes it look like I know what I'm doing. Based on the dimensions of our bed and the teachings of basic division, I decided to make the base of the steps 33 inches long and 22 inches tall overall, making each tread 11 inches deep and each riser 7 inches tall. The whole unit is 15 inches wide, based around the dimensions of the rug I bought for this project. Here's what you'll need for this project. At least one cat. I chose one that mildly disapproves of me, but you can use whatever you have around the house. 3 sheets of plywood, 24 by 48 inches, part of a 2x4, a jigsaw. I also used a miter saw and a skill saw, but technically you could complete this project with just the jigsaw. 2-inch construction screws, 1 1/4 inch finish nails, and 2 30-inch rugs, or the equivalent, and a staple gun. On 2 sheets of plywood, I measured the dimensions for each side of the steps. I then cut each piece out with a jigsaw. I was able to get most of the material I needed for the 3 stair treads and 3 risers out of what was left over from those 2 sheets of plywood, but I needed a bit extra from a 3rd sheet to complete these cuts. I used a few tools to cut these pieces, and admittedly, I made some mistakes in this process. When cutting the treads and risers, I tried using the jigsaw and the miter saw, which sort of worked, but neither was really the best choice. Eventually, I brought out the skill saw, and that worked much better. If you have one though, I would recommend using a miter saw to cut the lengths of 2x4 you need to stabilize the base, since this tool gets the job done most efficiently. When I had all the pieces cut, I started assembling. I used 2-inch construction screws to secure the sections of 2x4 to each section of the base. Then I used 1 1/4 finishing nails to attach the treads and risers to the side pieces, since I already had these in the garage and I was concerned that larger fasteners would split the plywood. Finally, I used a staple gun to attach the 2 small carpet pieces to the stairs. I don't think you need to attach carpet to your pet steps, but in this case I think it made them look nicer, and it also covered up the mistakes I made. We have a finished product. It's nothing short of a freaking miracle. Holy crap. So what went well? It stands up straight. It hasn't collapsed or fallen into a million pieces. Quite honestly, I think I probably made a mistake at just about every step in that process. A lot of it was figuring out what tool to use when, and quite honestly I got that wrong most of the time, which probably just made it harder for myself. Realistically also, they are steps for a pet, so how perfect do they actually need to be? Except don't tell her I said that. I'll probably die. We have pet steps, people.
Come use a baby. taught you something new. Yeah? Oh, he's a good girl. He's a good girl. You like it? You like it?
Also, it took me like 10 minutes to figure out how to get the skill saw back into the case. And it's not the first time I've had this problem either, so you'd think I would have paid a little bit more attention. Also, how much coffee is too much coffee? I'm asking for a friend. Also pretending like I'm talking to someone when I'm actually the only one here. Except the cat.